George and Dave's not coming?
Correct.
They're not coming.
Correct. Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to ask you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is convened in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey. Let the official minutes reflect that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by publishing a notice in the Asbury Park Press on Monday, April 8th, 2024, and the Star Ledger, and thereafter posting same on the Town Hall Bulletin Board for such notices, and filing same with the Township Clerk. This meeting was also posted on the Township webpage.
Councilman Sikosi.
Councilman Scozi's asking for an excused absence. He's away on business in Italy again, and requests excused absence.
Do we need to make a motion on that?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Lamb.
Here.
Councilman Loebman.
Councilman Loebman.
Councilman Logan's also asking for an excused absence. He has another meeting to attend this evening, so it'll require a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Iveson.
Yes.
Councilman Quinlisk.
Yes.
Council Vice President O'Toole. Council President Coleman.
Yes.
Item 5 are the minutes from the regular meeting on March 27th, 2024.
Move the minutes.
Second.
A motion is made by Councilman Lamb and seconded by Councilman Iveson. Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
Councilman Iveson?
Yes.
Councilman Quinlisk?
Yes.
Council Vice President O'Toole? Council President Coleman.
Yes.
There are no honoring resolutions and presentations. We're moving to item 7. Item 7 is an ordinance of the Township Council, Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, repealing ordinance number 4792-24 of the Township Code of the Township of Toms River, titled Amending and Supplementing Sections 50-3B, 50-3G, and 50-3R of the Township Code to revise the roster of petitions within the Department of Law Enforcement. This is a final reading.
Second.
There will be...
You got that public comment.
Need public comment first. Lynn.
Second and final reading.
Okay, at this time, we'll accept any public comment on this. This is on the final reading of the resolution number 7 on the agenda. Ordinance number 7. I see no takers, so, yes, okay, I'm sorry, sir, go ahead. And make sure you talk directly in the microphone, okay? Name and your address.
My name is Jerry Nappy, live in Pleasant Plains section, Monroe Avenue in Toms River. I've lived here a little while. I've lived here about 50 years. I've raised 4 children. I've raised 6 grandchildren. I got married in this town, and I liked it so much I did it twice. Thought this was a safe town when I moved down from Brooklyn back in the 50s and 60s. Moved down here in the 70s. Great town to relocate and have my family, which I did. 50 years have been great. Up until the last 6 months, I have grown to a point where I don't feel safe in this town with what's going on with the management of this town, cutting our police department. I've gone and got gun permits. I've got don't have it on me, but I have a concealed carry weapon permit as well, just to keep safe, because I feel that we are bending to the rules of a person who actually caused a lot of conflict in this city. He actually made this an anti-Semitic vote on his last time, made people hating the Jewish religion, and I'm going to say that out loud, and put signs up around town, which I have never seen before, that say, there's no room for hate in Ocean County. I've never seen that before until the last few months, okay? I understand, Mr. O'Toole, you brought in the vote for the ambulance to your district. I give you a lot of credit because you supported your people, okay? You're getting rid of or trying to cut down the people in town, the police officers in town, to have 8 new people on the street, 8 new EMTs. That's only one ambulance. 8 EMTs is only one ambulance that staffs it 24/7. Outsource it. Oh, wait, we don't like the guy who outsources now, so we don't want him to have more business. You know, this has become a political thing. We put people in place, we offer them jobs. We offer an ambulance, we offer a police job, we offer people places. You guys are a jury. You are here to do what you were voted to do. If you're being persuaded to vote any other way, then somebody is tampering with the jury, and that's illegal. The people here in your ward are the ones that told you what they want. And anyway, anytime you vote against what the people who put you in office, and everyone here put you in office, are there any veterans here? And can you please stand up? Can you please stand up? These are the guys, thank you. These are the people that you see in the street. They have a hat on that says World War I, World War II, Korean War, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. You say thank you for your service. You shake their hand. You may buy them a cup of coffee. You give them 10% off in a restaurant. And then what else do you do? Nothing. They're here telling you what they want. They're here telling you how they want you to vote. And if you turn around and don't vote the way they ask you to, people that voted for you and put you in office, then you should all resign, and we'd have $500,000 more money in the kitty. A $200,000 a job, $50,000, $60,000 a job each year. Do the numbers, add it up. You've got $500,000 right here for people that don't do their job. Please, remember, God bless America, but God help Tom's River. Thank you.
Just like to clarify, the council people, we bring home $221 a month. That's it. That's what we get paid, not $56,000. $221 a month, that's what we get paid. After deductions.
Then you should take it from the part-time measure.
And there was about 90% of the other people who wanted us to vote the way we wanted, not one person. We only see the one side here.
Okay. Ma'am, and sir, would you stand up in the aisle? I don't want to waste time, people coming up. So ma'am, come on up, and then gentlemen, would you please get in line? I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't realize, I couldn't see you behind. And please make sure you state your name and your address, please.
Hi, I'm Liz Dorick, Pheasant Lane, Toms River. And I just wanted to bring up a couple of comments from our last meeting on this ordinance. I know that you had decided to go ahead, and I just wanted to talk about in the mayor's diatribe at the last meeting. He stated he never needed this ordinance to begin with. He spoke of saving money by getting rid of those administrative positions for the police department, and he's not going to backfill them. He also spoke about eliminating the, as he put it, chief's PR person. And I just wanted to correct it and have it on record that that title is Public Information Officer, which is an integral position in law enforcement agencies throughout this country. The last time well, 2 times ago when I've spoken to you and I talked to you about voting on your own and not just following what everyone is saying to do, you all said, nobody tells me what to do. Well, I can quote the mayor at that last meeting as saying, I've advised the council to repeal the ordinance. Now, that sounds to me like somebody told the council what to do, because he doesn't need the ordinance to begin with. So I just wanted to point that out as an inconsistency. And he said he was advising you to do that in order to save the cost of special elections or litigation. And Ms. O'Toole, when you read your statement after the ordinance decided to be changed there, you said, I still support the mayor's plan. The salaries are outrageous. And you were discussing the salaries of the police officers whose jobs will not be refilled and backfilled. This was never about salaries. The town council negotiates police officers' salaries. And I do believe, Mr. Roderick, when these salaries were negotiated, you were a councilman at that time. So salary negotiation is not what this ordinance was about. And if you think those police officers make too much money, I think that you might be incorrect in that. So I just had these comments I wanted to say about the last meeting. And I also want to return this Toms River Bulletin, because I think you're a teacher, I think that's what I heard somewhere, but I was gonna correct it with red marker and whatnot, because number one, the header of it should be Toms River Bullcrap, because this is nothing that I wanna pay for, and it's nothing but perpetuating the lies. Thank you for your I'd like to return this.
Yes, ma'am. If there's somebody else who'd like to speak after her, would you please come up and stand behind her so we don't waste time waiting for you to come up?
Irene Watson, Messenger Street. There's a lot of things I don't understand regarding the police department and change, but one thing I feel I understand a bit. You're going to downsize the patrolmen by one. Is that correct?
No, actually, this is repealing all of the changes. So, no.
Okay, so you're not going to downsize?
This ordinance right now repeals the changes rather than litigate over it. So there's no change.
Okay, so you're keeping the things the way they were?
The way they were. Well, I'm not backfilling the captain's spots, so.
Okay, but, so you're not,
Right now, well, I believe we're at maximum. We've always been at maximum through this entire time. We've had 113 officers. So even when we changed the ordinance, we never decreased or laid anyone off. So all it said was going forward, we wouldn't go past 112 versus 113, and that's, at the time, we were at maximum. We had 113 people, but one person was not actually working. So we were at 112, but on paper we're at 113, and we're paying 113 people. None of that has ever changed. Through all of this, it's been the same number of people working there.
all right, okay, thank you. I have something for public comment, but I'll wait until then. Okay, thanks.
Julie Adamek, Cedar Grove Road in Toms River. I just want to make a comment about this downsizing with the captain's position. I think everyone in Toms River has noticed the tremendous increase in crime recently. We had the jewelry heist at the Ocean County Mall. We've had the catalytic converter stolen in a section of Toms River. We've had a number of burglaries off of Whitesville Road in a wealthier development there. And I just think that this is a big mistake. You have to have a strong administrative department and people that are well-versed and have a lot of experience, and they're the backbone of the police department, and it all trickles down from the top down to the bottom when you with the patrolman on the street. So I think this is not the right time to be doing this. I think it's been stated at many of the meetings that we have a shortage actually of the police in the police department, that we should be better staffed than what we are. And we know the population has increased exponentially in Toms River. So I would like to the council and the mayor to think about the ramifications of this decision going forward.
Evening, Chris. How you doing?
111 Flag Street, good sir. We can go round and round with the semantics from the mayor here. The department is being downsized. There's no doubt about it, because if you cut 2 captains, you're going to have 2 less officers. So all you need to know, car burglaries, houses have been broken into. Forget the mall. That's another incident. But crime is up in Toms River. If you expect the officers at 112, which is probably maybe 20 below, to do the job they should be doing, it's just not going to happen. So when they come to your house or they come to my house, maybe you'll be complaining. But you're better than this, Mr. Coleman. You don't want to be remembered for the legacy of cutting police officers in Toms River. Never have we ever cut police officers. If the chief or the deputy chief asked for positions to be cut, I'd listen to them because they know, I've talked about this before, they know what's going on. All due respect, sir, you're an educator. I wouldn't expect you to weigh in on this, but you all have. And Mr. Nivison, you speak about 90%. I can assure you, it's 90% that don't want our police officers cut. You live in Silverton. You live in a good area of Toms River. Doesn't matter where you live, crime is going up, and until you guys really stop listening to the mayor here, it will continue. If you had chosen any other topic, instead of cutting the police and going after the dogs, we wouldn't come to these meetings. This is why we're here. It's our town, and you should be listening to us. We have 4,000 signatures plus. So if that wasn't alarming enough, you guys dismiss us by repealing the ordinance. That's not going to work, because if there's 4,000 people that'll sign it, there's a lot more that are going to eventually vote you all out if you don't want to listen to us. And Mrs. O'Toole, you and I obviously would disagree. But Silverton's a good area, Holiday City, Silverton. Crime is up there as well. You may not be aware of it, but when an officer's on a first aid call and the house gets broken into and the Toms River Police Department's at minimum staffing, you're going to be waiting. It's not 30 minutes for an ambulance. It's 30 minutes for an officer sometimes. The calls are stacked up. You could do the right to know yourself. But I really wish you would start listening instead of listening to this, because eventually this is not going to go well. I actually think the town has gone backwards 20, 30 years because of Mr. Roderick here. And please, think for yourselves. I hear good things about some of you, but listen to this, not good. Again, stop listening to one person and listen to us. We are the people of Toms River. We're not going away either. Thank you for listening to me.
Hey, Paul.
Good evening, sir.
Well, just all due respect, okay? 3 meetings you told us about your prison term and your criminal background.
Right.
And you also told me that I don't know how to run a meeting, and that's fine. That's your opinion. Please don't repeat those items again. I think everybody in this room has heard it. I hope you have some other point that would help us make Toms River better, okay? And I'm being respectful. I'm just asking you, please don't go through those things again. We've heard it 3 times, okay? Thank you.
Would the Township Council like to advise Mr. Coleman about content?
First of all, Mr. Williams, your name and address for the record.
Paul Williams, 35 Broad Street, Toms River, New Jersey.
I do not choose to advise him at this point. He's asked you.
Of course you don't, because if there's litigation, you get paid.
He's asked
In any event, I wasn't even going to bring that up this evening. I wasn't even going to bring that up this evening, especially since Mr. Lobman's not here to moan and groan about it. But in any event, I want to piggyback a little bit on what was said, and that was about not listening to the mayor and doing your due diligence and things like that. I personally would not advise you to not listen to the mayor. Instead, what I would advise you to do is listen with one ear to what he has to say and listen to an objective voice on the same subject to be better informed. Because I hate to admit it sometimes, but sometimes he's right on some things. It's rare, but sometimes. And he is the mayor. He ought to be advising you and consulting with you on some things, but you also have a responsibility that's inherent in your being elected and your power to vote on these things, your responsibility to vote on these things, to figure out what's what instead of just listening to the mayor. It's important, and I think it was since the very first time. I wasn't here for the January 1st reorg meeting, but the very first meeting after that, I came here, Mr. Coleman, and I reminded you that you, as the council president, are the one that decides what goes on the agendas. That's pursuant to our municipal code. It's not the business administrator's responsibility. It's not the mayor's responsibility. In fact, it's not even their right. It's your responsibility for what goes on the agenda or what isn't on the agenda. That responsibility lays squarely at your feet. Even though it may be something that the administration wants, it's this council's responsibility to vote on the matters that you, Mr. Coleman, decide goes on the agenda. And by that, there's a reason why these things are supposed to be, in concept, posted on the website for all of us to see. This is why there's supposed to be an agenda meeting a week before the actual meeting, so that the council members and yourself can discuss these things that are being proposed to be put on agendas. As always, I try to implore you to do what we need you to do.
Sir, are you going to address the ordinance? Because there's going to be public comment, but
Right.
this is on the ordinance repealing.
Right,
ordinance number
and I'm about to get there, thank you, okay? And I'll get there right now, if that helps, okay? So, at this point now, after you've already voted on something that caused so much uproar in this community, you're now on the second reading of an ordinance to repeal something that you all voted for, not once, but twice, and now you're going to repeal it, when it never needed to be done to begin with, because the stated reasons through the mayor was about saving money. When there was a LEAP grant through the Department of Community Affairs for $400,000, which the mayor knew about, could have presented to you as an alternative to cutting these positions in order to save the salaries. There was a grant that could have been applied for, and I believe is in the process of possibly being applied for now, only after the citizens were successful in their referendum petition. There was more information that you did not have because you only listened to what he told you. You only listened to what he told you about the necessity for the ordinance when you first voted on it, not once, but twice. There was a grant that's available that would have paid for those positions, which he now insists he's not going to backfill anyway. So there was no need for this ordinance to begin with. And now, here we are only 2 months later, and you're voting to rescind that ordinance. So, as always, I try to encourage you to not just listen to the mayor, but to listen to other information as well. Thank you.
Council President, I was wondering if I could have a moment to address this grant.
Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Is the grant issue coming up on later on in the agenda?
So I just wanted to address this alleged grant. Since when we first got in, I believe it was Mr. Pasquarello, perhaps 3 times.
I did not recognize you. Go ahead, sir.
Perhaps 2 or 3 times, Councilman Coleman and I, when we first got here, a new software was incorporated into the township as far as putting agendas together. Department heads report to the business administrator, but department heads were enabled to place all kinds of things, and some folks weren't even department heads, onto these agendas. And they were just accumulated out of thin air, which has been rectified, but there was never an agreement between myself, the mayor, and the mayor of Island Heights about anything to do with Island Heights or shared services with Island Heights. And putting something on an agenda that says you're supposed to have a shared services agreement with another municipality voted on by both municipalities, and pretending that you have a grant opportunity, filling it out and turning it in is equivalent to being fraudulent. Right? If you need an agreement, it's the administration that negotiates shared services agreements. As to this alleged $400,000 number, the entire grant statewide would produce $2.2 million. We're just one small town. Well, we're a big town, but one town out of 550. So the idea that we would get $400,000 is somewhat preposterous, but you'd have to have an agreement. The agreement would have to make sense, and then we would then apply for it after 2 communities had an agreement. We never had that, but we kept seeing this show up on an agenda. But again, department heads go to the business administrator with their ideas. The business administrator decides, that's a good idea, that's a bad idea, this is an okay idea. That makes it onto an agenda. When the business administrator decides this is a policy we'd like to pursue, then checks and balances, council president has the opportunity to say, you know what, I don't like that item. And it's his right to pull that item, should he want to pull that item. But one thing that never happened in government here, as long as I've been here, 7 years, never ever did department heads all of a sudden put together agendas, and never ever did a mayor and a council president have to sit down and weed through 30 or 40 items to figure out, where the hell did this contract come from? What is this agreement? Do you know anything about that? That never happened. We do now have that under control, but there was never an agreement with Island Heights. Even the chief of police, when he was asked about this alleged grant opportunity, is in writing. Some of you out here like to Oprah, you could Oprah it, is in writing saying that the only negotiations that occurred was when a subordinate officer talked to a subordinate officer in the police department in Island Heights. That does not constitute a shared services agreement, and pretending it does may be good politics, but it would be very bad policy because it's akin to fraud. And that's what all this talk about a grant has really been. We keep saying there's this $400,000 grant, and some folks feel that if you say it enough times, it will materialize. But it doesn't work like that. Certainly doesn't work that way for Republican towns. We just imagine that we're going to get $500,000 and it's going to just show up. That doesn't happen. Thank you, Council President, for giving me the time.
You're welcome. Councilman Quincy?
Oh, God. He's right in some points, but first I want to acknowledge that he just threw Solanas under the bus because at the last meeting, I believe they said they had no information about such a grant. So he just said this, it's hard to keep up with this. It really is. The grant was started way back in February, and if the mayor didn't like the way it was done, or it's an incomplete application, which it is because the chief doesn't have the authority to negotiate it, but he can present it, the mayor did nothing with it, or I should say, according to him, Solanas did nothing with it because it was stupid or something to take a potential $400,000 grant. So that falls back on this administration, and I hate saying, and I hate when I hear everybody out there say this administration, because sadly I'm part of it, and I get lumped in with some of these poor decisions. It was a very foolish thing for him not to take advantage of that grant opportunity way back then and get it rolling. Now, I understand he's got some super plan coming up for us later on in tonight's agenda, and I can't wait to hear what it is. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Sir?
Yes, Bob Tremolin, 109 Messenger Street, Toms River. I don't know if the council or the people out there are aware that the salary that the mayor wants to pay the starting EMTs is more than we pay starting policemen in this town. Thank you.
Council President, may I just answer that?
Mayor, you have the floor.
Okay, so yes, a starting police officer starts out around $50,000 or $50-some-odd thousand a year and has a 12-year guide, which tops out at around $168,000, which is somewhere in the neighborhood about $10,000 a year. The new guide for EMTs starts at $62,000. It's 17 steps, and it doesn't get anywhere near that. So it's really about attracting people at wages that are above what people pay in Walmart. You can't pay somebody $20 an hour now and expect to get a skilled labor. So you're just not going to get skilled labor for that. You have to pay. Police officers, on the other hand, they're coming in at a lower salary because they know that in a year or 2 or 3, they're going to be making a heck of a lot more money. And I'm not saying they don't deserve that, these officers that are on the ground. But at the end of the day, we need to attract EMTs. It's a very competitive space. It's very competitive, and a high starting salary will attract a lot of EMTs. We've already gotten, in 5 days, 50 applicants. So sometimes you pay a little more up front, and you have better opportunity for the town. We don't have a shortage of folks who want to be police officers for Toms River. Last time we did the test, I think we had 300 applicants, and the time before that, I believe it was 1,000. At least that's what I think. I could be wrong. It's been a long time.
Mr. Coleman, may I?
Okay. Councilman Kuzic?
Both the CSO union and the police department unions both have negotiated contracts. The strength of their union helps dictate how well they do in those negotiations. So whether it's a 17-step program for the CSOs or a 12-step program for the police, that's up to the union and business administrator to hash those things out. Obviously, the police union did a little bit better for themselves. But I got to point out one more time that Mr. Roderick, as a councilman, voted yes on both the FOP and the PBA union contracts last time. So to fall back on that argument is as weak as many things. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. You say that same
Jillian
thing?
Messina, Opatec Court.
Thank you.
President Coleman, this is directly for you. All the talk about the salaries and the grants and all this stuff, it's very easily settled. As the council president, you can have the DCA come in and talk about the grant. And it was available, and we have a lot of information about it. I understand that unfortunately it wasn't on the agenda, so this one we missed. However, as the council president, you can contact the DCA and they would be happy to come here and discuss the grant and explain everything, and you'll hear it right from their mouth. So I would ask you that maybe the next meeting, you invite them and find out about the grant opportunities. I mean, one of the best things we can do for this town is hire a grant writer on a commission base, because the more money they bring to the town, the more money they get paid. And we can find all of these. So directly to you, sir, I'm just asking you to please invite the DCA to come to the next meeting. They're happy to come, and they will explain everything. You can do a whole setup. They'll do a whole presentation for you. So I would ask that you would do that.
Okay, I see nobody else in line, so I'd like to call for a vote at this time.
Take a motion to close public comment.
Who made the
I'll
mo-
make a motion.
Tom made the motion, and Mr. O'Toole seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Take a motion to move the ordinance.
So moved.
Is there a first?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion was made by Councilman Lamb and seconded by Councilman Quinliss. Councilman Lamb?
Well, with or without this ordinance, the table of organization of every township department, including public safety, always rests solely with the mayor and the administration. This has been the case for the past probably several decades. The governing body was never defunding public safety. Our sole purpose is to add funding in order to cover critical EMS coverage for the Barrier Island. That's primarily my ward. For the past 2 years, I've asked, practically begged the last mayor and administration to fund EMS on the Barrier Island. That was ignored, and we can't ignore that anymore. The mischaracterization of our plan and shifting posture by the unions was expected. However, the governing body and new decisions solely fell upon this mayor. For the last 2 years, the majority of Ward 1 taxpayers, again, that I represent, have practically begged for ambulance coverage 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and they don't get that. This governing body is now delivering on our promise to hire a complement of EMT-trained community service officers that are within the tent of the police department. Again, they work at the police department, and it's been ignored for 2 years that I've been on council, and it can't be ignored any further. For those reasons, I vote yes.
Councilman Quinliss?
I have to disagree with most of that statement because I believe Mo Hill did staff people over there in the summertime when it's most needed. And I am pretty confident that nobody up on this council can tell me exactly how many ambulance calls we have over on that island, especially this time of year, to help justify getting rid of 4 police officers. And it is 4 because it was 2 captains. We were already down required or up to 1 police officer, and we just didn't hire in another one. So that's 2 patrolmen and 2 captains. I would love to know how many calls on the island are taking 30 minutes. How many calls on the island there actually are, and how do we justify any of this? Because I'm all for having ambulances where we need them, but make sure they're where we need them.
Your vote?
Yes.
Councilman Iveson?
Yes.
Council Vice President O'Toole?
Yes, and I would also reiterate what Justin said, we have problems in our community.
He wants it for the island, not your community.
Say what?
He wants it for your island, the island, not your community.
Everywhere, but we have a problem in our Barrier Island right now. We want it everywhere, Councilman. We want it everywhere. However, the Barrier Island is ignored after Labor Day to Memorial Day. There's no ambulance coverage over there.
How many calls?
I mean, I'll go and show you later how
I'm
many
sorry,
calls there are.
we're in the middle of a vote. Council Vice President O'Toole voted yes.
Sorry about that. I am voting yes, and as I said, I will reiterate what Justin Lamb said. We have problems in our community with the ambulances. And there's something else that bothers me very much. There was a petition signed by a lot of people. And the petition, as far as I'm concerned, was signed under false pretenses. Because everything that was going around at the time was defunding the police. And nobody has defunded the police. And that was how that petition was signed, and I feel that petition is not worth the paper it's written on. Thank you.
Council President Coleman.
I kind of have to reiterate what Councilwoman O'Toole said, because I did talk to a couple of people and asked them why they did sign, and they said they were told that the police department was going to be defunded. We need the ambulances, we need the EMTs, and so I'm going to stick with my vote from before and say yes.
Moving to item 8. Item 8 is an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, authorizing the mayor to execute and the township clerk to attest to a lease agreement with Docksider Marina LLC to lease a section of block 1097.01, lot 172, for township-operated recreational kayak launch and associated amenities. This is a first reading.
Move the ordinance.
I'll second that.
A motion is made by Councilman Lamb and seconded by Councilman Nivison. Councilman Lamb?
I want to thank the administration for renegotiating the contract with the Docksider. This was important because we had new kayak, basically new kayak racks built. However, the Docksider was also a great spot for a few people that prefer to be down there. So the fact that we renegotiated the price down, I believe we got a multi-year lease, that's going to be beneficial for Wortley Beach and for my residents over there. So thank you. I vote yes on that.
Councilman Nivison?
Yes.
Councilman Quinliss?
Sure.
Yes?
Yes, sorry.
Council Vice President O'Toole?
Yes.
Council President Coleman?
Yes.
Item 9 is a resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, authorizing the Township of Toms River to accept a grant award from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, Division of Local Government Services, Local Efficiency Achievement Program, LEAP, in the amount of $171,000 for a shared services agreement with the Borough of Island Heights for waste collection.
Second.
A motion is made by Council Vice President O'Toole and seconded by Councilman Lamb. Council Vice President O'Toole?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
Councilman Nivison?
Yes.
Councilman Quinliss?
Yeah, I just want to quickly point out, this is a different LEAP grant, and it's with the Borough of Island Heights. Imagine that. But yes.
Council President Coleman?
Yes.
Item 10 is a resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Toms River, Ocean County, New Jersey, authorizing the mayor to execute and the township clerk to attest to a shared services agreement between the Township of Toms River and the Barrier Island towns, including the Borough of Lavalette, the Borough of Seaside Heights, the Borough of Seaside Park, and the Township of Berkeley for EMS services.
Council President, may I jump in?
Yes, you have the floor, Mayor.
Over the past few weeks, I've had conversations with the mayors of all 4 island communities regarding a shared services agreement where we would back one another up. As you know, Lavalette splits Toms River's northern beaches from Ortley Beach, and we have volunteer services in all of those 5 communities. Volunteerism is in great decline, so we are going to ask the state to see if we can get a grant that would help us to start up an island-based EMS service. This would be in addition to an additional ambulance here on the mainland. So it would be terrific to see if we can get some money for this. But again, just so that everybody understands, this is a one-time grant. It's not something that we could budget on, but it is something that could help us try this out and see if we can service in this way. So it would allow us to back up these other towns, and they would back us up in different orders. But it would have to also be voted on by those municipalities as well, and then we would submit to the state of New Jersey.
I make a motion.
You want to, Councilman Quinliss, you have the floor.
I'm really sorry to be so vocal. I do want to say that this got thrown on agenda. I was asked about it at 8:30 this morning when somebody was at their other job, And I've been trying all day to get more information. I've gotten absolutely no supporting documentation on this. I did hear from one of the other mayors that there was a meeting about this particular subject, and Dan wasn't even there for the meeting that he arranged for this. I think it's wonderful that we're going to try and do this, of course, because it's more money for the town. And yes, we'll get that ambulance that's so desperately needed on the island. And I say that a little sarcastically, but thank you.
Well, I don't think it's, I don't think it's
This
funny.
grant that we're applying for here also has a deadline of April 15th, which is Monday. So sure, we're going to say yes, and then we're going to have to start working on the application process. But before the April 15th deadline, each one of those other towns would also have to have a meeting, and they're going to have to vote yes on it as well. And yeah, they may allow an exception, there's no doubt. But all that being said, we already have an application that is ready to go, and shut the hell up. And we're ignoring it. We're ignoring that application, and I can't see any justification for ignoring one. If you can talk to these 4 mayors, why couldn't you talk to our neighboring mayor that we already have a LEAP grant going for? I don't understand what the rationalization is between letting that $400,000 go, but I'm sure
Based
you're going
on
to tell us.
Robert's rules, I believe I get a rebuttal, Council President.
Are you finished,
Is
Jim?
it Robert's rules or Robert's?
Are you,
Roberts, Roberts, right.
Jim?
Robert's rules.
Jim, have you finished?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Go ahead, Mayor.
So again, you know, Councilman Quinless continues to speak about this imaginary agreement and application when there is no vote. What this does, it allows me to enter into an agreement with those towns, and then those towns would have to vote on that agreement, but we can apply by the 15th, noting in our application that we're awaiting a ratification from the other municipalities.
But it's
You would know
a
that,
grant
Mr.
you already have that you ignored and you blame Solanas for.
Okay, so,
And lied.
listen, I know,
Let's stay in order. You'll give your turn, Jim,
So
again, okay?
Sorry, I got it.
I know, Mr. Quinless, that you believe that if you say something over and over again, it makes it true. I've read Animal Farm as well. I've read Animal Farms as well. But the chief of police didn't negotiate an agreement. He wouldn't be allowed to anyway.
Correct.
We never negotiated one. And if a crossing guard from Toms River talks to a police officer in, I don't know, Island Heights, that doesn't constitute an agreement. I've explained in detail why that would be like equivalent to fraud, but you seem to think that if you say it enough, that that's going to change the facts. It doesn't change the facts, Jim. You are completely clueless on this, and I've tried to speak to you 4 times. But I don't know. Is it that you are incapable of understanding it? Do you just not care about the people on the barrier island?
No.
What is it?
No, I think you just lie too much, Dan.
No, it's in writing. It's in writing. Show me the agreement.
I believe I emailed.
Show me the
I
agreement.
believe I emailed a copy of the.
Show me the agreement.
All of
Who negotiated the agreement?
It's
The
Dan.
mayor of Island Heights called me 2 days ago to say, hey, what the heck is all this talk about a shared services agreement in Island Heights?
Dan, you've had.
I don't know what he's
had the
talking about
application
either.
at your desk. You could have moved it forward and gotten.
Moved what? You need an agreement. What don't you understand about an agreement?
Keep repeating that.
Right.
We're doing it right now for.
The mayor of Island Heights has no idea what you're talking about, Jim. No idea. You can repeat it 10 times.
You're wrong.
No one in Island Heights
wrong,
knows what
Jim.
you're talking about.
Gentlemen, please, can we get?
No one knows
back
what
in-
you're talking
can we
about.
please get back
You
in order?
can say it again. It doesn't change things.
I am asking if we could please get back into order.
I have no further comment. This is silly nonsense.
All right,
From a silly man.
let's move on.
Council President, a motion was made by Council Vice President O'Toole. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
A motion is made by Council Vice President O'Toole and seconded by Council President Coleman. Council Vice President O'Toole? Yes. Council President Coleman?
Yes,
Councilman Lamb?
Again, while we need EMS services desperately on the beach, unfortunately, I have to abstain due to the inclusion of Lavallette, since my direct relative, serves on the governing body there.
Councilman Nivison?
Yes.
Councilman Quinless?
I have to ask, and I know Dan has the answer. Do we plan on stationing one ambulance over there full-time, 24 hours a day?
If we get, if we get the money, we can do more ambulances.
But we're going to station one on the island, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, despite no call volume.
Yes, we're going to do that, Jim. Yes. That's
There
the
would
plan.
be higher call volume if we were all in it together. right? So if Triborough is on a call, right now, there's nobody to answer the call for another town.
So-
Triborough is covering 3 towns.
Okay. So if you keep that ambulance over there on the island, dedicated to the island, are they coming over on this side if there's a call?
Jim, all the details are being worked out. We're applying for a grant right now.
Because you said to me that.
Do you want to vote for it or you don't want to vote for it?
You wanna
Don't
keep
vote
an
for it if you don't want
ambulance
to
over
vote for
there
it.
24 hours a day. We already have mutual aid service agreements with all those.
Councilman Quinliss,
all
your
those
vote,
towns.
please.
I vote yes because I certainly want to see more ambulances. If we can get this grant, that's fantastic. But I think it's all really blown out of
All right,
proportion.
moving to the approval of the bills.
Motion made for the bill.
I'll second that motion.
A motion is made by Council Vice President O'Toole and seconded by Councilman Nivison. Council Vice President O'Toole?
Yes.
Councilman Nivison?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Seem to abstain from bill number 24-01934. Yes to the balance.
Councilman Quinliss?
Abstain from bills payable to Tech Elevator and Remington Vernick. Yes to the balance.
Council President Coleman?
Yes.
Elected officials' comments.
Okay. Councilman Lamb, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to clear up that, the 6 or half a dozen or so of you that come to the meetings and say that we're not listening to the 6 of you. That might be how you feel, but I have to go to approximately over a dozen homeowners association meetings in my ward. My ward is very, it's a large ward in that there's a lot of homeowners associations on the Barrier Island, and they come to me and they beg for EMS coverage, and they've been doing so for 2 years, and it's being ignored for 2 years. So at this point, I have to support this plan because it's the right plan to get ambulance coverage on the beach. Now, my partner over here, Jim Quinliss, might believe that the call volume is not where he thinks it should be. I appreciate that opinion. However, that's not what I'm being told on the beach. And I would name stories of people that waited 18, 20, 25 minutes. But again, the privacy of those people and those victims, I'm going to maintain that. But if you come to the meetings, come to the Wortley Beach Voters and Taxpayers meeting, you'll see that 2 hours or so is pretty much devoted to why don't we have ambulance coverage here 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. After Superstorm Sandy, you had a lot of homes that were, again, destroyed, allowing for more people to move down here full-time. The population has increased dramatically, exponentially since Sandy. With that comes more call volume. And again, Jim, I would say that just to clear up what you're saying, it's increased exponentially as well, the call volume for first aid. I don't know what numbers you look at, but I can tell you from a personal standpoint and from talking to many people over there, they want more coverage. That's all this evening. Thank you.
Okay, Jim?
I asked for how many? Not that it's increased exponentially. Yes, if you have one resident and you get one call, that's one. If you get a second resident, that's two. That's a 100% increase. But are we talking about 100 calls for the whole year? Are we talking about thousands of calls for the whole year on the island? You don't have that information, so you don't have to worry about chiming in on that. I don't have the exact figures, but I'm working on it.
Of course you are.
I'm working on it. Don't you worry about it. Meanwhile, Triborough First Aid does cover Seaside Heights, Seaside Park, and even Island Beach State Park. So there is service over there. May not be the 24-hour ambulance sitting there most of the time waiting for very few calls in that area, especially in the wintertime. The mayor, like I said earlier, the mayor did do something about it last year, and it cost us a lot because he was staffing it in a different way to make something happen to make sure that the island was covered. In the summertime, yes. I want to apologize for some of my comments at last week's meeting, and I mean this wholeheartedly. Last week, I made a comment that I heard more propaganda in that one meeting than I've heard in most of my time doing any government service or any meetings I've ever attended. I need to amend that to say that was before I read the Dan Roderick newspaper. Thank you. And I do have to correct, we're down, we're supposed to have 114 police officers according to everything I've read. We're down to 113 before the mayor instituted this, and we're down one more because of that. So now we're down to 112 officers plus the two captains. And, and as he's saying, we're well-staffed. Well, I mean, I hate to repeat myself, but apparently only you guys are listening, because 20 years ago, they said we were understaffed. 20 years ago, the population, as he just pointed out, including the Barrier Island, has increased. Yet we have not increased the size of our police department. I'm not a math teacher, but it looks like I think we need more. And lastly, I want to congratulate Mr. Coleman. Please don't get offended for being a good disciple of Mr. Roderick's, because I see you got yourself a brand new township car too. That's it.
I'll respond to that. I've been given the responsibility of representing the township in ribbon cuttings, proclamations, been called down to this building numerous times, and I've been using my own vehicle with my own fuel, and I only use the vehicle for Tom's River business, and that's all I will use it for. And you can come to my house and watch, and you will see that that's the case.
Mr. Coleman, as much as I appreciate that, and I understand what you're doing with a vehicle, you're the first president in known history to get one. So, you know, everybody else has been doing the same type of tasks, and nobody else has gotten a car. But I get what happened here. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. We're saving
You bought
taxpayer
so
dollars,
many
man.
cars, Jim, that the basement of the parking lot is loaded with cars. Take one. There's so many cars, Jim, and you wanted to buy more cars this year. You fought us when we repealed purchasing cars. You fought us on that. $700,000, you said, spend it, Dan, spend it. And now you're worried that the council president is going to a ribbon cutting with a township vehicle?
I'm very
You've been driving around fire vehicles for I don't even know how long. Big giant Tahoes.
I am so glad you're.
Are you kidding me?
Because
Are you kidding me? So he takes a little tiny Jeep Patriot to a ribbon cutting, and you're upset you've been driving around in township vehicles your whole life with the fire department.
I'm so glad you're defending, because it's not really for Mr. Coleman
Can
to
I,
defend.
can I say this, Jim, please? If that really upsets you.
It's not
Now,
me.
Let me
It's not
finish,
me.
let me finish. If that really upsets you, you know what? I'll turn it in, okay?
It's the right thing to do.
I'll turn it in. And then I will give the receipts for gas, mileage, and everything else that, for the car that I use, the family car, to the township to pay for, okay? Is that all right? That's what you would like.
Right, it is, listen, and the reason why we have so many extra cars down there, and let's not confuse the issues again, the extra cars we have down there is because we're down like 30 town employees since January 1st. The cars that I'm talking about that I do vote for are going to be definitely the police vehicles and the public works vehicles that we need to keep our town running fully.
Sir, you're out of order. Yeah, I don't want to have you removed, please, please.
You're here from the public. You have an opportunity to speak.
Speak.
Please
You
be
can,
quiet.
you can speak, sir, when it's your turn.
Please be quiet.
I'm gonna, last warning, sir.
Quiet.
Last warning. Last warning. I'm telling you right now, last warning. Sir, would you please remove this gentleman from the room, please? Sir, would you please remove him? I've given him several warnings, and he refuses to comply. I refuse to comply. Please remove him. Thank you. Let's get back on track here. Okay. I kind of actually lost track where we are. Mike? Oh, okay.
If Councilman Quinlan's done, Councilman Iverson.
Councilman Iverson.
No comment at this time.
Councilwoman O'Toole?
Everybody asks, I respect the people in the audience, I respect what you have to say.
I don't think her mic is on.
Okay, be polite, though. Can you just be polite about it? You don't have
Sorry.
to scream.
Said, I respect the people in the audience, and I respect what you have to say. But I will say this. I didn't catch her name, I'm sorry, but if everybody agreed with you and did not agree with us, there would be no room for anybody. The town would all be out, they would be up in arms. I talked to a lot of my people where I live, all in and around, and they're happy with the way things are going. We got a very large tax increase a couple years ago, and it hurt us very badly. There was a meeting downtown about it. I'm not going to mention names, but it was the old regime at the senior center. And one of the people where I live went up to one of the councilmen and was actually in tears. And he said, I don't know what to do. I live on a very fixed income and I can't afford this. And the answer was back with no empathy, no compassion, no anything. I guess you'll have to sell your house. We ran on a no-tax platform. We are trying to do the very best that we can for all of Toms River and not raise taxes, but do things and get things done. Thank you.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. Again, as president of the council, I've been given the responsibility of conducting a professional, organized meeting without interruptions. In that regard, the following procedures will be used. Any individuals who do not show respect for the individual who has the floor by interrupting will be given a warning, will be removed from the room if the interruptions continue, as we just saw. This goes for council members as well as the public. If you are interested in making comments, please get in line so that time is not wasted walking to the microphone. All right, so if you're going to make a comment, get in line, take your turn. That way we don't waste time waiting for you to get out of your seat and coming up to the microphone. If you've made certain comments in the past, please avoid repeating them. The council has a pretty good memory. After hearing the same comments as many as 3 times, the opportunity would be better spent covering other concerns. Finally, we're still getting complaints that some speakers cannot be heard. Please stand close to the mic, or if that's not possible, hold the mic in your hands, and some people have been doing that, and I thank you for doing that. Good job. Thank you for your cooperation, and thank you for your respect. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to public comment.
Council President, just before that, is
Go
it
ahead.
possible that we can, in order to have more people speak, if we could drop the minutes to 3 minutes from 5? That way, we can get more speakers to speak. If you can't get out what you can say in 3 minutes, why can't you have 3 minutes? No. Why not? It's my motion. You want to come up and make it?
I'll
or-
second that motion.
No.
Want more people to speak, that's all.
Can I just interrupt? I'm sorry.
You have a motion on the
There's a
floor now.
motion, all right, I apologize. Go ahead.
This was already brought up at the beginning of the year, and we went to 5 minutes.
There's a motion on the
Also-
floor.
A motion.
So,
Second.
Councilman Quinlis, there
we
was a,
could
Councilman Quinlis.
Jim,
have
the
more people
motion's-
speaking if
Councilman
we go back to 2 meetings a month instead
All right,
of
there was a
trying to-
motion made by Councilman Lamb to reduce
I
the
second the motion.
5-minute time limit to 3 minutes. A motion was made by Councilman Lamb and was seconded by Councilman Nivison. Councilman Lamb.
Yes.
Councilman Nivison.
Yes.
Councilman Quinlis.
On January 1st, this mayor said he's moving our meetings to 7 o'clock at night so more people can be heard. He has done nothing but make it impossible for you to be heard. And this is just another example of him trying to quiet you down.
I'm asking for, it's my motion.
This is another example of somebody on this council trying to quiet you down. The fact of the matter is,
Want more speakers, more.
All right.
we hear more
Can
we hear more from the mayor than we do from the public. I encourage everybody to get online 3 times.
Can't speak it.
Hell no.
Speak fast.
Council Vice President O'Toole.
Yes.
Council President Coleman.
Yes.
Speak faster.
Remember I said if you really have your points well organized, you'll see you'll be able to do it in 3 minutes. You really will. All right? Okay. I believe we're at the point of... Oh, I'm sorry. I did it again. Apologize, Mayor. Mayor, it's your turn.
That's okay, we can just go forward with public comment.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Please get in line if you want to speak. Please. Please. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Jerry Nappy, I live in Pleasant Plains sections, Toms River. I would only like, as a courtesy, as you
You gotta
said,
have your address, sir. You-
51 Monroe Avenue, Toms River, New Jersey. I would like to ask, as a courtesy to the people that come here, that the mayor, when he speaks, stand up so the people in the back room can see him. You mentioned people can't hear the microphone, stand closer to the microphone. We'd like to see the mayor face his public and talk to them at the same time. That would be a comment I would like to make, whether he sits up there or stands up over there. Thank you.
Remember, people, if you're going to speak, please get in line, please.
Dennis Galanti, 1149 Cherokee Court, Toms River. Boo to you for putting it to 3 minutes public comment, because really you violated your own resolution back when, in the first of the year, when you made it 3 minutes, and then since then you've allowed it to be 5 minutes. So you violated your own resolution. Okay? Robert's Rules of Order. So then I guess that allows someone, if that's what we follow, that if I get to speak 3 minutes, I have another 2 minutes? Is that the way it works?
They just made it up, so.
Well, if it's a rebuttal, okay.
Here.
Oprah requests, emails. Is that the privilege of the Oprah that's sent to the clerk? Does either the council or does the mayor have privilege to look at those emails for Oprah requests? Being that when I get sent a response from an Oprah request, on the bottom there's a disclaimer that that is between myself and the clerk. So will you answer that question?
I don't look at anybody's Oprah ever. The attorney, I believe, occasionally looks at Oprah's depending on disclosure, correct? Is that correct, Mr. McGuckin?
There are requirements sometimes that the clerk will require legal advice as to whether something can be released under Oprah, but Oprah requests are not private or privileged. They are also a public record. Anybody can see any
Yeah,
request for
you're
an Oprah.
you're correct. I could Oprah, but I'll tell you, Mr. Galante, I have enough emails of my own.
Yeah.
All right. I asked you about our budget meeting, or when the budget presentation is going to be. So I have the revised from the local finance board. It gives all the specifics: Mayor, Council, Faulkner Act, submission of the annual financial statement deadline, February 10th. It should be done by March 8th on 2024. I don't believe that's been done. The introduction of the budget, February 10th, 2024, to change to March 29th, 2024. I don't think that's been done. And the budget needs to be approved or adopted to April 30th. Now, what's funny is I also have on the bottom of this, it says, a local finance notice containing this information should be published next week. In the meantime, please share this information with your municipal finance officer. So here you go. That's you, I guess.
You can give it to the clerk, he'll give it to
To
me.
the clerk? All right. Lose my time while I'm walking. Fast. When you did the fire district resolution, okay, so you did correct it, and you corrected it by having a public hearing that I knew that you needed, and okay, thank you.
Let's let him go and see what happens.
Good evening, Council President Coleman, Council Phil Brilliant, 79 Hollow Tree Lane. First, a thank you out to Council President Coleman and Councilman Quinless for coming out to Congregation B'nai Israel on Sunday for an event we had which celebrated Cantor Daniel Green for being in the community for 50 years. In addition, thank you very much. No applause, please. Got to keep going. I was wondering, task force on MCO. We talked about it back on January 18th. Anything gone on that yet?
Been in discussion.
In discussion. Okay,
Yeah.
good. We're moving. I saw something that there's going to be another engineering report for the parking lot. Is there a due date on that?
Did you want me to answer, because you only have 3 minutes?
Yeah. Is there a due date on the report?
We didn't have a physical report come in, but we had the engineer discuss with us, and he confirmed, but again, I want to see it in writing. He confirmed that the structure is not structurally, compromised, and that it really just needs to be in that stairwell, needs to be taken care of, and then painting the stairwell. And then he also suggested that there were roof problems that were not identified in the prior report, and that those roof problems are the cause of the deterioration in the stairwell, which I believe you probably saw on News 12. I spoke about that there. But having the report actually handed to us yet, no, but we've gone over all of that with the engineering firm. And it's the biggest, as you know, because you're in engineering, they are the biggest municipal firm in the state of New Jersey. So they're very competent firm.
Will that go out to bid again, most probably?
It'll go out with different specs. So the specs will focus on the damaged areas and not the rest of the building.
Okay. I think, we've already talked about the police department. I think, they've done a fantastic job. They do a fantastic job in this town. I know we're talking about crime going up. There's a lot of homes in North Dover and other areas being affected, but I think it's, two things are important. One is we have the greatest police department in the state of New Jersey. And two, when you take money from positions and move it somewhere else, there's nothing else you're doing but defunding. So I think saying it wasn't defunding is wrong because you're moving the money somewhere else. Last thing is, we talked about it a couple minutes ago, now we're down to 3 minutes. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. There's a lot of business going on in this town. I think you should consider 2 meetings a month. I think calling these special meetings, you were missing 2 council people tonight. I think setting an agenda before, like you said, to be organized. When an agenda comes out at 3, 4 o'clock, it's changed. It's really tough to do it when a meeting's at 5. So we're doing our best, but I think you're going to do 2 council meetings a month. You've done 4 special council meetings in 4 months. Let's just go to 2 meetings a month, set a schedule. You can, correct me if I'm wrong, council, you can cancel a meeting if it's up in time to do so in advance.
Council decides what their meeting schedule is.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
they've decided.
Yes, ma'am.
Dana Tormolin, Messenger Street. I'm going to use my time to thank the mayor for all the positive things he's done in his first 100 days. Thank you first and foremost for allowing me to realize that there are still some very wonderful people in this world. Your attempts to eliminate police jobs has brought the town closer than it has been in years. People coming out to rallies and petition signings to show their support for our police officers has opened up so many opportunities to meet wonderful people and the best residents. The residents you despise, even though some of them were part of the 69% of the 18,000 voters that voted for you in November, and if the rest of the 72,000 voters had voted, we may not be here right now. Thank you for all the efforts you have put into closing our township animal shelter. Once again, you have opened a door for so many more friendships to be built around the fact that there are so many wonderful township employees who, along with the residents, do what they can to make sure that our local animals have safe, clean, caring place to go when they are in their most vulnerable state. I'm on a time limit. Thank you for showing us that safety of the residents is not top on your list of priorities, not only by not filling police jobs, but by teaching us that a coat of paint will fix any structural problem, whether it be in a crumbling parking garage or on the side of Bailey Golf Course. Thank you for allowing us to see that due to party lines, voters will vote blindly for the party they feel best and do not do their research as to who they actually are voting for. Maybe this has been a learning experience for a lot of people, and in June during the primary, they choose a candidate, whether it be a Republican or a Democrat, but someone who has been loyal to their beliefs for more than 90 days. Thank you for showing us how uninformed counsel who follows the lead of a dictator can be influenced so easily when they aren't allowed to answer their questions without a script in front of them. Kind of like the script that was given to the press regarding their election questions and answered when they didn't answer for themselves. You did it for them. Thank you for allowing us to see that there's always a price tag that can buy any politician who is weak. I mean, look at the state of our country, state, and now our town. Thank you for allowing those of us who are unfamiliar with the likes of Mr. Solanas and Mr. Seam to see what they actually are, lying, scheming bullies. I guess it takes one to know one. Thank you for the recreation opportunities, as well as the plan for 5-minute fireworks shows scheduled 5 dates this summer that you have tried to put in place, but we will see if they come to fruition due to the DEP, DOT, and CAFRA. But most of all, I want to say thank you for making me realize how much I love this town and how many wonderful residents there are in it and how many council people need to follow in suit of what the residents are asking them and not the dictator or the mayor.
Mr. Galante, I would just like to ask that Mr. Galante always prepares very thoughtful comments and questions, and
Thank you.
the school board, just so you recognize, I know you know this, is 3 minutes. I just respectfully ask the council that we allow him to have the full time for his comments, if he so chooses.
Okay, I'm going to beg your pardon because you're wrong. It's 3 minutes on agenda items, and it's 5 minutes in public comment. Look it up.
You may be right. You go more than I do.
Right.
You go more than I do. I watch, but you go all the time.
Okay. You didn't answer my question about the budget. but I don't want you to take up my time. I appreciate.
Would you
So I
like,
give
would you like it? You could
30
pause, you could
minutes.
pause and I'll answer for him. Pause, please, if that's all right. So your question on the budget, just reiterate for me real quick.
Yeah, I just gave the paperwork.
We were,
Clarification.
would you like Mr. Solanas, we're constantly in touch with the DCA. So as you know, our CFO left.
Okay.
Okay, so the CFO prepares the budget. We hired a firm to come in and do it. They're working on it. We're in talks constantly with the Department of Community Affairs. We're meeting all of the guidelines as we should.
Not by according to the paper that I have.
Would you address?
I'm just,
Our budget consultant spoke to the state. They told us that we could have an extension to the next regularly scheduled public meeting, which is April 24th.
okay.
And it looks like we're not going to have a tax hike.
We didn't have them 4 years in a row. Thank you.
No one in here claps for that. No one in here claps for the fact that we don't have a tax increase? That we're not going to have a tax increase? Doesn't matter to the folks in this room? Okay.
Okay, clock me in.
Matters to the folks in Holiday City, doesn't it?
You already have had a time period, a limit on how many people can speak, and I think it's 30 minutes, okay, public comment, 60 minutes, there's something there that you can limit.
It was
So,
90
what's-
minutes. You'll notice that I did not announce that tonight, and that was for a reason,
All right,
okay?
but what's the point of, all right. So my last question to you is I asked for the full text of the consent agenda resolutions. Has that been discussed, as was said it would be at the last meeting? That it was also said, if I saw the tape, that it was something may be presented at the next meeting? Was it discussed? Mr. Sikosy tried to make a...
I'm not sure exactly what you're asking, so bear with me, okay? All I know is that now I can go on my computer when the agenda comes out and go through each item, and it gives me a chance to go into the explanation for those particular items.
Can I?
I don't know.
Mr. Coleman?
And
Yes,
that's,
sir.
that said, does each and every one of you read each
Was
and
that-
every consent agenda resolution before you vote to approve or disapprove? Do you read them in the entirety, that you get all the information you
No.
need to make a
No.
vote?
Mr.
Yeah.
Galante,
Right.
I did just
Look-
explain earlier on about the computer system that was installed by Mo Hill on his way out, and how the items were coming onto the agenda. So that was really just rectified. I think you and I have had a number of conversations over the years. You're always a transparency guy, and so was I. I think you always compliment me on that. And I'm just curious as to where the sudden change is coming from, because those items haven't been sitting on this table since about 2019. And now you're asking about them, but in meetings past, you didn't ask about them.
Yes, I did.
I don't recall. But we have a new system now. The system's up and running. We inherited it, and we're working with it.
Greg McGuckin was council president.
Oh, that's a long time ago. That's a real long time ago.
Thank God.
And a good one at that. The consent agenda resolutions used to be one-liners, and I brought that up back then, and I made Mark Mutter, I removed every consent agenda from that agenda from A to Z and asked for each and every one of them to be read in their entirety. After 3 of them, I didn't want to put Mark Mutter to task.
Mr. Coleman?
Councilman?
Did I hear you correct that you have the computer so you could see the consent agenda? Or using the computer so you can see it?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be creating the consent agenda, not
What
reading
I'm
it.
trying to talk to you about is that, so that I understand the particulars for each of the items, okay? And I go through that. Jim, it's difficult
Councilman?
that you have a problem with everything, Jim. And I'd like you as a person, but why do you have a problem with every single thing?
I'm just saying, you have a job to do.
I do.
Council President, I think earlier on I addressed the way the system has always worked. And you're here, how many months now, sir? 3, right? So
3.
don't worry about what he says. He's
I understand.
just makes it up as he goes along.
All right, let's move on. Sir, are you finished?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am? Remember, if you're going to speak, I really would like you to get in line so we don't waste time while you come up from your chair and then, getting to the microphone. Thank you. Go ahead.
Irene Watson, Messenger Street. I'd like to address the Toms River Bulletin. A lot of people dislike it, liked what was printed. Some people liked it, they agreed, or they disagreed. But at least you know what the mayor has done or is planning to do. They had articles on the EMTs, the police department, the animal shelter, Hilda Gordon's 100th birthday, the senior center, the kayaks, the Easter bunny. I think this was all interesting, and again, you might not like what he's written, but at least you have, you know what's on his mind. I've never received anything like this before, and I like knowing what's going on in the mayor's mind or in the councilman's mind. I also appreciated, not Toms River, but I appreciated that Congressman Chris Smith writes a report and sends something that it looks like a newspaper. He had a very good article on human trafficking. I think this is just so important for people to know. The previous publication was on the wind turbines that were being put out in the ocean or planned to be put out. One other publication I'd like to know about, why was the Toms River Times removed from the lobby?
Mr. Pasquarello, should you?
Well, we looked at the township code. The township code is pretty explicit that there's only advertisements.
You better use the microphone.
Advertisements are only permitted in certain designated areas of the township, and downstairs in the lobby is not one of those designated areas. I understand that it's been there for a while, but
And there was no lease either, correct?
correct, there was no lease.
There's no lease, so.
So it's showing favoritism to one publication, and obviously we can't have a million publications down there all over the place. So that's why it was removed.
Real quick, on the ambulance, there's all different ideas on how to put an ambulance over on the islands. I think the one thing that people have to realize, an ambulance is like a hospital on wheels. A police car has about a dozen life-saving pieces of equipment. An ambulance has hundreds of things, not only different items, but items that will fit a neonatal, a baby, to an adult. They are very well versed in talking to the people in the hospital, so when they come into the emergency room, they will know exactly what they're dealing with. So even if it's one person, if that one person is dying, that mini hospital is there for them. And earlier, a previous
Ma'am,
meeting.
I'm sorry I have to cut you off. Your time is up. Okay? I apologize.
Thank
But you can come back for a second shot if you want.
All right, thanks.
Okay, Paul?
Paul Williams, Broad Street, Toms River. March, about 57 years ago, Martin Luther King said that a riot is the voice of the unheard. And that came to mind just a few minutes ago when I saw the motion made by Councilman Lamb and by a majority of the council members was approved to limit the time from 5 to 3 minutes. I don't know what that thought processes may have been, but saving 2 minutes during public comment, it just struck me as another example of this council doing, this council and as well as the mayor and his business administrator, maneuvering in ways to limit people's input before this council. When I came up here originally, Council President, you took an initiative before I even said anything to suggest or demand or ask that I not speak about my history.
Right.
If that's something that I want to do at every single council meeting, I'm allowed to do that. Let me finish.
I'm just saying, you're right, okay? That was just a request of me personally, but you are absolutely 100% correct. You can just bring up that every single meeting if you wish.
During
I just-
public comment.
Nobody
During
asked you
ordinance.
anything. Nobody asked anything. Shut your mouth.
Oh, I should shut my mouth.
All right. All right, but I just want to be clear. That was simply a request from me, nobody else.
But as a council president and as a government official, to say that to a citizen, you may not have intentionally done it, but you threatened to quell.
I did not threaten. It was
No,
a simple
hear me out. You
request.
threatened-
No, I'm not going to hear you out if you're going to tell me I'm threatening. I'm not. I'm just telling you that was just a request between you and me, and that's it. Okay?
In legal terms, when a government official suggests, asks, when, in my opinion, and I guess we'll work it out in court where you'll get paid extra, right, Mr. McGuckin? But in my opinion, when a government official suggests, tells, asks a civilian to not do something, it has the capacity in and of itself, even if it was innocently done, to quell that person's freedom of speech.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Wouldn't that be a violation of his First Amendment right?
He's the council president. In this capacity, he doesn't have First Amendment rights.
He does.
Well, he does not. Not when he's running a meeting. He does not. Shut up. Nobody's talking to
Lose
you.
your First Amendment right?
Respect here, right?
And nobody asked you to say anything either. This isn't a riot. Council President, this is not a riot, and this is what I'm talking about. You have people that, and there goes Lamb, right? They can't help themselves. You don't get to do that. You don't get to attack someone
Time's
and
up.
then want decorum at the same time.
Next speaker, please.
Your time is up.
Yes, Bob Tremolin, Messenger Street, Toms River. Last meeting, Mr. Roderick made the statement that the previous administration, his favorite words, spent $500,000 to replenish Ortley Beach. I just would like you to know that that was a lie. The exact cost was $304,913.13. So there was another prefabrication put out there by the mayor. Number two is, how come there's no videos? Is there any reason that as soon as this meeting is over, there's no videos? There's no replays? You can't get anything? Okay? I'm not wasting my time on that one because obviously you don't want people to see what a joke this is. Number three here, Mr. Quinslick, you mentioned something about Mr. Coleman having a car. I'm wondering if Mr. Roderick, are you still driving your car to school that the town's paying for? Number three is I figured out a great way to save money. We have a part-time mayor. Pay him a part-time salary. He has a job all day long, takes our town car, drives it to school. Pay him part-time. We don't have a full-time mayor. We used to in the previous administration, we had a full-time mayor. We don't have a full-time mayor. I think his salary should be based on the amount of time he actually puts in here a day. Thank you.
My name is Chris Raymond. Mr. Tremolin kind of stole my thunder. I wasn't going to bring this up, but Mr. Quinlan spoke about the use of township vehicles. You know, Mr. Coleman, you drive a vehicle in this town, I don't have a problem with that. But who on the governing body is going to follow the ordinance which states you cannot take a township vehicle? I believe it's 20-some-odd miles out of Toms River. Who's going to govern over this? Who's going to tell the mayor he can't take a township vehicle to Middletown? Who's going to do that? Nobody? And when Mr. Tremolin speaks about the salary, we're cutting police. I know, Mrs. O'Toole, you don't believe that, but we are defunding the police, and not only that, I believe it was one of the previous meetings where we cut the purchasing of new police vehicles. So we have plenty of vehicles supposedly in the garage. We're cutting the police, we're cutting their vehicles, and we're allowing the mayor to drive wherever he wants. The shell game comes to an end eventually, gentlemen. I've given you guys many opportunities to get in front of this. You're not going to listen to me, clearly, but I tell you, this is not Toms River, and I can assure you, Mrs. O'Toole, people of Toms River are waking up. They're not going to put up with this. So you can limit our speech, you can limit the meetings. We're not going away, so have a good night.
Julie Adamek, Cedar Grove Road in Toms River. I wanted to speak about two things. One, also about the Toms River Bulletin, which a couple of residents brought up. I was really very dismayed to look at that publication when it came at Easter time. And I actually got the prior letter that had come in the mail from the mayor with the police salaries. It was pointed out at a prior town council meeting that the salaries were not accurate on, they did not tally up correctly. And there was some excuses given at the meeting, but then when I compared them in the bulletin that came in the mail, the same figures showed up. So that tells me that that was not innocent, that was done deliberately, because if it was innocent, the error would have been corrected, and when this was published, the salary list for the police were put in this bulletin, they would have been corrected by that time. So there were false statements about the Toms River Animal Shelter. Fortunately for the residents of Toms River, we had rain that canceled the Easter egg hunt. Because I don't know about you, but personally I think as a resident, $7,000 to be moved from one budgetary category to another for an Easter egg hunt sounds exorbitant. We're supposed to be saving money. Now, nobody's against having an Easter egg hunt, but maybe those eggs were filled with gold or something, because I saw a box of plastic Easter eggs at Walmart, full price, 250 of them for $10.99. The week after Easter, $2.50. So maybe if you want to do this next year, you should buy them on clearance like everybody else does. But like I said, that to me is exorbitant. I could see $500 for an Easter egg hunt. I could see $1,000, but $7,000 sounds absolutely outlandish. So that's my comments today.
Joe Nardini, Derry Drive, Toms River, New Jersey. Council President Coleman, I respectfully ask you this question. At a prior meeting, it was mentioned that our parking garage needed no work. There was you were able to vote on having it repaired. Everybody up here, mostly everybody up here said it doesn't need any repairs. We had one person sitting here who said they were had a background in engineering. He says, I examined it, there's nothing wrong with it. We had another person up here who says it doesn't even need paint. Now, why, in a few days later, there's pump jacks under it, holding up the structure. Who knows if the pump jacks are on a substrate that's gonna hold the structure. All of a sudden, now it needs repairs. What happened? How did it just fall into disrepair? A main header is in disrepair. This place can collapse and cause a catastrophic failure. That place can collapse, and all of a sudden in a prior meeting it says, doesn't even need paint. What happened? Nobody's really following up on things. It's like a bunch of yo-yos over here just following what they're being told to say. What happened in the past couple of weeks?
Can I comment on that?
Well, let me just answer one question.
Sure.
Sir?
Yes.
I never said that the garage didn't need.
I didn't say you said. I don't want to mention the two councilmen who said.
Okay, I was going to say, because I never
I know
ever
you.
said that.
I'm not saying you did.
Okay.
I don't want to mention names.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the contract called for paint.
No, it did not call for paint. If you read the contract.
The title of it was for painting. It
No.
was headed as painting. I personally inspected the entire garage.
That's correct. I didn't want to mention your name,
I'm the
Mr.
one who
Iverson.
came back. I came back immediately and said, we need to get an engineer in here ASAP.
Not what you said at the meeting. You says it doesn't even need paint.
No, this was before
Mr.
I did. This
Iverson never
was
said
before I did the inspection. I said, let's
We had an engineer in here. We had, I think it was Mazer or Collier's Engineering come in and says, this place is in harm's way.
Mr. Nardini, I know you're in construction for a long time, right? Nardini Electric and
my
School
whole
Board.
life I'm in
You managed the whole project for the school referendum, right? While you're on the school board.
$47 million.
Okay. We had a report from Colliers. I said this earlier, maybe you weren't here at the time. The report from Colliers said it was non-structural, said it needed to be patched and painted so that it wouldn't rust the steel anymore. That's what was in there. The contract was for, was for $500,000 because it included a lot more than just the stairwell. Mr. Quinlisk, and please extend this time when we're done. Mr. Quinlisk sat up here on this dais and said that that was structural. So at that point, given that there was a conflict between what Mr. Quinlisk was saying publicly and what we had in the Colliers report, we had a responsibility to the people of Toms River to have that re-inspected. It's been re-inspected, and they've confirmed that it is not structural. It will be repaired, and it will be taken care of for a lot less than $500,000.
In all due respect.
No, not in all due respect. Those are the facts, sir. Read it in our report.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, in all due respect, Mayor, okay, you're wrong. Because if this, I respect, all right? Quiet, listen to me. If this was non-structural, why were there pump jacks holding up the structure?
They're not pump jacks.
Yes, they are.
There's a piece of plywood. It's been like this for, it's been like this for 5 years.
Okay, why
And
are
we're here
they there?
for 3 months and it's being fixed.
Why are they there? Do you think they're there for fun?
They've been there
Do you
for
think
fun.
they're there so they don't collapse? You think that
They're there to hold up the top coat of cement that was done months ago.
What do you think? There's one, or is there
It's
two?
not structural, sir.
They're not.
So you're saying that, you just said that Mazer was one of the best engineering
say
firms.
that Mazer.
I just said that we brought in CME. So you're saying that you, Joe Nardini, the electrician, you know structural, but Mazer and CME don't?
Did not say
That's
that.
ridiculous.
I did
You're
not.
ridiculous.
You're starting.
You're
crap. You're
ridiculous.
trying to put words
Go
in
back to
people's
the
mouth.
school board and vote on the school board.
Do not put words in my mouth. Council
Ridiculous,
President,
ridiculous.
I did not
Sir,
say what he
could you
said.
please just stop for a minute?
Okay,
We're going, remember what I said before? We can argue from now
Wait, no,
until next
that man's a
Christmas.
freaking psychopath. Listen to
Now
me.
to-
Why is there
listen to
5
the
pump
You're
jacks
interrupting-
holding up
Can I
something?
speak without you interrupting me, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
sir.
I could
Yeah,
tell you
but-
why there's 5
Tom,
pump jacks
Tom,
holding it up.
Excuse me, Tom.
Who are you?
I have the floor right now. We're not going to get anywhere just having outrageous arguments, okay? You have your opinion, and you made your point. I heard you, okay? We're going to do our best to, as soon as possible, to take care of whatever problems is with the garage. And I think that's the bottom line, is that we're going to get it fixed. One way or another, we're going to get it fixed, and it's going to be fixed correctly,
Thank
okay?
you, sir. But I want it on record, I did not say Mazer's the best. I did not say it didn't need this or that. That man put that out there. I
Okay,
did not say
but
that. Listen to the recording.
We're past that, and
Okay, very
I made a
good.
commitment
I'm
to you,
respectful,
okay?
sir, to you.
All right.
I respect you.
I thank you,
I
sir.
don't respect him, but I respect you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you stopping when I asked you to stop.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
All right, anything else, sir?
No, have a good day and thank you.
All right, you too. Thank you very much.
How to follow that up?
Excuse
Tom-
me,
Tom-
gentlemen, could you remove this man? You removed him once and he's back. I'd like him removed. Patrolman, please remove him. He has no right to come back.
I'll reclaim my time.
No, you can't. You're removed from the room, sir. You're supposed to leave. You are to leave. You are to leave this room now. Now you are to leave this room. This gentleman's going to let you escort you out. No, you're not going to speak. No, sir. Patrolman, please remove this man immediately. Please. Please. Please remove him immediately. Please leave him, get him out of the room now. I've asked 3 times. Please remove him and have him outside the room. Outside of the room. Okay. Sir, it's your, when we get this under control, it's your floor.
We'll end that now. Okay. I'm going to follow both these guys up, but I don't have nearly as much energy. Tom Fridella, Jacqueline Court. In 2016, I was in Seaside Heights and I was assaulted while trying to break up a fight. My orbital socket was broke, my orbital floor crushed, I had a laceration on my right eye. Had the laceration been a little bit worse, I could have been blinded and disabled for life because I'm legally blind in my left eye. As the kind Seaside Heights police officer, threw my license into the rocks and didn't stop to provide any, well, didn't continue to provide any assistance. I had someone drive from Forked River all the way to Seaside to pick me up and drive me to a hospital where I was given emergency surgery. So let me say thank you to the EMS. Let me say that, okay, for that case, it was needed. And I'm sure there are many more instances where that's needed. Now that I've also shown that I don't universally back the blue, Governor Murphy said that if we want to live in a state with low taxes, then we shouldn't live in New Jersey. While I completely disagree with that statement, there are a couple of things I'm willing to pay taxes for, okay? And that's police when they say it's needed, and that's EMS. So I think it was Edmund Burke who said, those that don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. 2020 was a tumultuous year. We're about to head into an election that's going to look very much the same. Our population is up. Crime is up. We don't know truly how much our population is up by. I don't think that it's smart to put a head count on the number of policemen, because if you can negotiate a budget, you could always negotiate that price down by making the argument that doubling up cars at times will actually make police officers safer. You know, as we just saw, I think just today or yesterday, there was you know, a shooting with a police-involved shooting with just on a traffic stop, which is one of the most dangerous stops they can make. So I think that's something that we need to look at, and I think that's something we need to be just kind of in consideration of, and if not, you know, on an ongoing basis, at least have a contingency plan for this year where situations can get rough. And just the last thing, and I would welcome your comment. Last time I was here, I talked about the Toms River Animal Shelter numbers. Thank you, Mary, because you did provide me with a source to go find those, and then I know some people who like to open requests. I'm going to finish because I had to wait. So what I did was I did go and I put through those numbers, all the raw numbers, from the intakes to the adoptions to the euthanized to the reclaims. I did it for 21, 22, 23. Now I have a comparison, a summary sheet here, and I also have it broken down by year. I know this is on the next agenda, I guess, for us to vote on this.
You want to give it to me? I'll look at it. Yeah.
Well, I'll give this to you, and I'm going to make sure that everyone here actually has an advanced copy of it. Well, I'll make sure we have more copies, so I'll get you them. But I want to make sure that everyone has the chance to actually review the information that you're going to be voting on. So I'll make sure that I provide the information to you as well.
Thanks.
I'm happy to explain how I came up with those numbers too. So that's it.
Ma'am, you've been up twice. Could you let the gentleman behind you go, please? Thank you.
You want me to keep it or no? Or you want it?
Alan
Go ahead,
Alfano,
sir.
Vaughan Avenue, Toms
You're
River.
saying they're comparable.
Thank
They're
you all for
including
hearing me last meeting when it
comparable
came to the
number.
privatization of animal control. I think it was very smart of everybody to curb that discussion, and very brave. And I just, real quick, logistically, the animal shelter and animal control are two separate departments, but we work out of the same building. So logistically, I'm just food for thought for the next and final vote. If correctly we're not going to privatize animal control, which I think is a mistake, where are we supposed to work out of if you close the shelter down? Are we moving here to Washington Street? The mayor has said that the shelter for that $1 million won't cost the taxpayers any money for at least 2 years. So it's just food for thought before you vote final on the animal shelter. Thank you.
Julie Adamek, Cedar Grove Road, Toms River. I just wanted to touch base again on the animal shelter, and I want everyone in the audience to know, everybody listening on YouTube today, that come the 24th, there's the legal notice that came out that's going to be voted on, the status of the animal shelter, whether it's going to be ultimately leased to the county. And the Toms River Bulletin, things that have come out from Town Hall have been reflecting information that dates back to 21, statistics as far as euthanasia, et cetera. And they just seem to be rehashing the past rather than looking at the most current data. So I think that the public needs to really realize that the adoption rate for the township is superior to that of the county for animals. The township also accepts wildlife. They go and respond to injured wildlife. The county would not do that. And the euthanasia rate is lower for the township versus the county, especially when it comes to cats. The cats at the county, the euthanasia rate is about 1 out of 4. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind, and I'm asking you to do further research on this before you take that final vote.
Good evening. My name is Jody Kayaza. I don't live in Toms River, but I've been an Ocean County resident for 40 years. I've been asked to kind of speak on behalf of the Toms River Animal Shelter as I worked with them a couple years ago on a big horde of over 100 rabbits. My background is I run a nonprofit, small animal rescue. Been doing rescue for 40 years. Have worked with shelters throughout New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. My experience with the shelter, and I don't know a lot about the politics behind this, which is probably a good thing because I don't have a lot of skin in the game. I'm just here to report my experience. Worked with them, like I said, they got all these rabbits in. They were not equipped to handle. Most shelters cannot handle 100, 200 animals at one time. They did a fantastic job working with other shelters, other rescues, put the word out that they needed supplies. Supplies came in overabundance of supplies that they, again, in turn, shared with other rescues that took animals from them. My bottom line is everybody has to work together. They did a fantastic job of doing that. And like I said, I have no skin in the game. I'm just here to talk about the shelter, and I apologize if tonight's meeting was not the right time to do that, but I was asked to come. Thank you very much.
Art Anderson, 12 Park Street. The question I have is, in previous meetings, we always had department managers from either engineering or all the different departments to answer questions from both the residents and the council members, especially when you're voting on situations that they're in kind of charge. Is there any way we can go back to that? Because instead of just getting questions and we're not really getting the right answers from the department heads and the people that really are in charge, is there any way we can go back and do that?
I'll tell you what, can I jump on that? I never liked that the last 2 years. I think that the council members should be able to answer anything put from any resident. I know that everybody focuses on the council president. He's been here 90 days or whatever. I always like when people ask the council members directly, and a council member should have a direct answer back to you. And if you don't have the exact answer, he should call you back the next day, or he should wait after the meeting and spend more time with you. That's usually how I handle things.
But the problem is we're not getting the right answers.
Well, if you ask me something, I'll answer, or I'll stay after and talk to you even further.
Art, are you referring to the parking lot as far as engineering?
Well, everything. We
Well,
always had
you're great at Oprah, you know.
Yeah,
The report. No, I know the report specifically said the first report that was done. It's been written about in the paper. Gene Mickle did a great article about it. Karen Wall did a great article. The first report said it was non-structural, but could develop into structural if we didn't patch it up. Mr. Quinlis insisted it was structural. I ordered another report. I don't have the physical report, but CME has said it is non-structural. So I'm trying to engage you and give you the information that I'm reading in the report, unlike the prior administration that relied on the engineer. I read the report. So we did bring in a firm. They're getting their feet on the ground here, and they're just getting started. As you know, we had an engineer leave, and we brought in a great firm, and there were 3 guys that rotate in and out, and they're getting their feet wet. But we do intend to eventually have them coming to meetings.
But some of these meetings, we're voting on stuff, we can't get back to you. And I understand what you're saying, but we're voting right now, and getting back the next
No,
week.
but this council, as far as like this topic about the parking garage, we have, except for Mr. Quinlisk, who won't take my calls, I've spoken to every member of council about this numerous times, and they've all been updated on it. I think Mr. McGuckin knows about it, everybody knows about it. So, and there's a report, and I know there's some news coverage, but I was pretty clear from the beginning, and the reports are all available, and basically what we did is we spent some more money to double check. I don't know what the difference is between me telling you that and former engineer Bob Shankelian telling you that, but I'll try my best right now. But yes, in answer to your question, once we get things settled, again, it's only been 90 days, then we will bring them in. And if you have more questions, you know, they'll...
Mr. Coleman, to answer your question, honestly, they've been fired or quit before they got fired or got their head chopped off. That's why the professionals.
The whole, Jim, I did not, Jim,
not here for us.
I did not recognize you, Jim. You're out of
why
order,
the
please.
professors are not here to answer
Jim,
the question.
You're out of order, Jim. Come on, I asked you to be. I said you're out of order. I didn't say you lied. I said you're out of order, okay? And I've been good to you. Every time you wave to me, I've recognized you, all right? Sir.
Maybe Mr. Anderson would like to continue.
I just, like I says, I think we should have somebody here that knows what we're, instead of us just arguing here, if we had somebody that was in charge that could tell us what we're doing or what's on that agenda. Like I says, we're getting the agenda very late, so we're not even really getting to see what's on it, never mind getting back to somebody before the meeting.
Well, I tried to get the agenda to you earlier this time. We're working on it. And also, your recommendation and your suggestion, we certainly will consider that.
Mr. Anderson, you do recall, though, that the agenda was not available any more than a day or two in advance for many years, correct?
Listen, I'm not going one.
No, but I mean, just in fairness to Council President Coleman.
I say both ways, but this is the worst. This is definitely the worst.
2 days? We had it out 2 days. We
Mr.
used to walk in here, Justin and I would get an agenda an hour before the meeting.
Can Mr. Sonis talk, please?
Huh?
Can Mr. Sonis?
Oh,
I was
yeah.
asking a question, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, can I ask him a question too? Have I
Keep in
not
mind
come-
too, that town hall's open Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. You're welcome to file an open request. You're welcome to come down and speak to us. It doesn't just have to be at the council meeting. I mean, we are
No,
open.
but have I not come down to the town and asked you for the minutes, and you've told me multiple times during that day that they're not yet ready?
The minutes for a council meeting.
It's a yes or no question.
The minutes for any council meeting in any municipality aren't ready until they're approved at the next meeting.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm a resident, so these guys should be getting it way before. So if we're not getting it, they're not getting. So how are we voting on stuff that nobody's going to see?
That's actually a better question for the clerk regarding the minutes. You prepare the minutes, Mike, correct?
The minutes or the agenda?
The agenda.
Oh, the agenda.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. The agenda.
Well, as you acknowledged, the agenda was not always ready. Actually, it was, Justin and I, we would have it an hour before the meeting.
Sometimes I got it when I walked in, and I had to read fairly quickly, but that's just me. But going back to your last point, I never liked the practice of certain council members from previous administrations that would just default to the professional in the room and not have the answer. You should have the answer about everything on this. Excuse me, Jim. No, you're pointing at the council president. The council president's been on the job for 90 days, excuse me, and his job is to move the meeting. That's his primary job. I think I told you last meeting, maybe you forgot, but his primary role is to move the meeting. But going back to this resident's question, our job is to know the answers, and if we can't have the answer readily available, we should meet you after the meeting and get that professional on the phone and have a full answer, not just an Oprah request. It should be direct to you.
I agree with you. And again, if we don't have the answers and you don't have the answers, we shouldn't be voting on it. That's
Well,
what
no, I always have the answer. In 2 years, I've always had it.
Sir, by the way, just so that you're aware, there's also no requirement for an agenda by law. The confusion is for a special council
I'm not
meeting.
going by little stuff like that. I'm saying that let's do it right. I know what you're saying, but lawyers. OJ was also innocent.
Oh, right. Well, now he's dead, so.
Is he dead? He died today? Oh.
Carlos Amonsar, Warnham. So first and foremost, I gotta say is, I haven't seen you guys, not one yet, at the neighborhood watch meeting. Our crime rate has been up from the first time that I came to this meeting this year to last week when I went to the meeting. I haven't seen not one of you guys. Our crime rate went up. I'm glad it's not in my area that went up. Actually, 1 and 2. Sorry, Mayor, in your area, the crime is up. I warned you guys, if we look weak at the beginning of the year, that crime is coming up from north, coming down here. How I know? I don't want to say it, but guys, you live in a rich area.
Excuse me, Guilford Park? I live in Guilford Park. Is that what you're referring to?
No, you live in a rich area.
What rich area are you referring to? I live in a rich area?
Your house is very nice.
I live in
Your
Guilford.
job is very nice. I live in Warnham. I got to apply for financial help and everything.
I think all of Tom's River is very nice.
I was going to say
It's
that. I don't know what you're
the
trying to-
nicest town. All areas are very
Okay,
nice.
so how about this? How about we have dinner at my house, guys?
You cooking?
So I'm invited, and I will pay for this dinner, so it's not on the tax. That's off. So that's that. Now, Councilman, President, I respect you and I admire you because you were put in a chair without not knowing a shebang, and you're trying your best. So I'm going to give you you're doing very good, but we need to improve. The 5 minutes, we got to put it 5 because we cannot cut down just because a gentleman wants it to 3 minutes. We don't got enough time to speak our voice, and you can see it right now. So we should go back to 5. 2, let's forget about the past. The past is done. Let's move forward. They had 20 days to put the agenda. Guess what? Let's just make the agenda 2 days prior so everybody could get it, and it's no excuse on you guys. Because right now, you guys are the boss, and you guys are not doing your job. One is doing it, the other one is not. So who are we going to, if you're not doing your job, remove yourself from there and put somebody that's going to do it. It's that simple. Let's stop playing around. Half of a year is already gone. Half of a year is gone. And we're still wasting time on shenanigans. If it's about tax, we could find a way to make this money. I'm not the smarter kid, but sir, give me an opportunity and I will give you, not the cannabis, I could find different other ways of making the money for a town. So please, let's stop making this craziness because we're looking in front of the channels, news channels, like we don't know, like we idiots. I'm a special ed and I look better. That's disrespectful to you guys. So please, stop wasting time. We got the ambulance, we got everything. Now we got to concentrate. How are we going to bring these positions that we eliminated from the police back? Done. Let's find the funds to bring that back, and let's move forward. The garage got to get done. Let's get it done the right way. I respect that you're doing your research for everything. So let's stop wasting time, and let's negotiate, please, guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm going to be quick. I didn't plan on speaking. Forgive me, I'm a little nervous. Republican, Democrat,
Excuse
whatever.
me. Can we just have your name and...
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Ellen Margraf.
Your address?
I live in Lenoka Harbor. I came up from Lenoka Harbor, Ocean County resident for 42 years. I want to ask everybody up here so respectfully, and I honestly mean that, please don't close the animal shelter.
No one's ever been closing the shelter, just so you know.
Just give me 1 second. I just want to say that the way, I'm proud to be an Ocean County resident, and the way we treat animals and the way we treat people and animals who are innocent says a lot about who we are. And I'm very proud to be from here, and I'm incredibly upset about what's happening. I don't want to see any euthanasia personally. That's just how I feel. I feel like there should be enough. We pay enough in taxes, and I don't want to see taxes go up either. I understand that. Believe me, I really do.
Well, just so you know, there's information being placed out on social media that says we're closing the shelter, and this has been a false narrative, false rumor that's been going on for months now since we got into office. We've never closed the shelter. We never planned on closing the shelter. We are in talks and have passed one ordinance on first reading where we would partner with Ocean County and that they would run the shelter for us. and we were all gonna invest in a new dog walk and improving the facilities and partner together. But that does not mean we're closing the shelter. It means the complete opposite. It means we'd be investing more and working together. Toms River is one of only 4 municipalities in the state of New Jersey that has its own shelter. Most townships, out of the 564, Mr. McGuckin, I think, 564 municipalities, they all use the county systems except for 4. We're one of them, which means the Toms River taxpayer is fronting the bill for a shelter. And we're understaffed, and we don't have a lot of money, and we have an issue with our budget, and the county this year is going to cut county taxes. Am I correct, Mr. McGuckin? They're cutting taxes because they have that much extra money, and that money is your money, that money is my money, and there's no reason why, if they're a willing participant, why we shouldn't partner with them for a better animal shelter. So this rumor that you've read on social media, it first was in Toms River. Now you're saying you're coming up from Lanoka Harbor, because a lot of the people who came at first from Toms River and spoke, and we answered, there are some folks that are here obviously from Toms River for that, but we at one time had a room filled until we started talking about what the actual facts were regarding what we were planning to do. No one wants to close the shelter. What we want to do is improve the shelter and work with the county to do that, and to take some of the burden off of Toms River taxpayers while the county has so much excess. And if you'd like to continue, Mike, could you please give her 3 minutes back?
Just 2 things really quickly. I understand you want to get together with the Ocean County shelter in Jackson. They do have a high euthanasia rate. So unfortunately, that's something I would like to see not happen.
I hear you. I don't agree with that, and I've showed that to the press. I think the dog number is much, at least when they reported to the state last in 2021, the dog euthanasia rate in Toms River was 12.5%, and at the county level, it was 0.5%. I know the county cat number is high, but we all know that the county gets the feral cats from the entire county, and there are some folks who believe we should be doing trap and release. I guess that's something we could all talk about, but I don't think it's relevant to the changing of the shelter over and who runs it. We need more people, we need more expertise, we need more financing, and we just don't have it. We want to see what's best for the animals. I was the first person who I received a lot of emails. I took this on because it was the right thing to do in early January. I even reached out to papers because the shelter was full. I took it on even though it's politically unpopular, and I'm seeing it through even though it's politically unpopular, because I believe it's the right thing to do. I know there are some folks who disagree with me on that, but one thing that we should not misunderstand is the shelter is not being closed. There's never been a plan to close the shelter. I know it's an emotional thing because some folks who are working at the shelter, and I see them here, there are quite a few of them here, they're concerned that they may not have a job, and I understand that's a real issue and an emotional issue, but I have to think of everybody and balance all that out. So
I just humbly ask you to think about the animals, because I know we're talking about humans, but we have a voice and they don't have a voice.
I love the animals.
My hope is that we can do something, you know what I mean, lower the euthanasia. I understand money is an issue, but
the county has a low dog euthanasia, very low, and the number skews out, and particularly over the feral cats, because again, when you have an entire county that you're responsible for, and you can't do anything with the wild cat, they don't have a mechanism. There's no trap and release program.
I've trapped and released about 30 cats, so there is there's a way to do it, because I've done it.
There is, but there isn't anything going on in any of these county shelters it's something like that has to be handled more on a state level. But again, you go out to a full county-wide shelter responsible for 33 municipalities, and the cat number gets, but like I said, as far as their efforts, you turn on the radio, you hear about the Ocean County shelter, you turn on the internet, you see Dogs for Adopted, they're sponsored ads all the time. They do a great job, and they have the money to do that, and they could use more capacity. And since we've made sure that our shelter is opened and not locked when you go up to the door, we've had a hard time keeping animals. They come in and they go out real quick, and we have a lot of extra capacity, so.
I just want to say one last time to every person here, I very respectfully to all of you just ask you to please consider
Absolutely.
doing what's best for the animals. It really does say a lot about who we are
Always.
and the way we treat them. That's the only thing I ask, and I ask that respectfully of every single one of you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Stacy Wyckoff. I'm a Brick Township resident of 40 years. I've been involved in rescue for over 20 years. I've recently read some very disturbing comments that you've said with regard to euthanizing animals and actually chuckled at it, and I find that to be totally disturbing. I work with the Jackson Shelter. They have informed me that you've closed the Toms River Shelter to intakes, which is causing dogs in Jackson to be euthanized. And I don't understand how you're saying that it's lies that the shelter's being closed.
Because I never closed the shelter. And we are intaking animals, and we are having animals leave, and I don't know how Toms River would cause animals in Jackson to go, but I would just read the source that you're reading this from and try to evaluate where it's coming from, and it just doesn't seem to make sense that animals are dying in Jackson because of Toms River. We have our doors open, animals come in, animals go out.
So you're telling me that they're open to intakes?
I believe so, yes, yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to look into that. And the other thing that I
Oh,
wanted to know
you
is,
can, actually, like I
with
said,
regard to the $1 million donation that was to fund the shelter for 2 years, where is that?
Okay, the funding for 2 years, you're getting that from my math. When I said to the folks in the paper about, there was a $1 million donation. We've spent some of that money because when we first got here, someone had purchased 2 industrial, a washer and a dryer. They didn't fit. They spent like $60,000. So we spent some money to open up the door. We spent some money to get that installed, although they had.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you want to speak, please be respectful and get in line, and you certainly can have.
So we spent some money because they had been outside for I think 6 months or a year or something along those lines to get them in. I think they had to take apart the wall, right, and get them in, and so some of that's been spent there. But the county has expressed that they would like to do a dog walk and all kinds of upgrades to the facility. And in our ordinance that we passed, it was, the agreement was that we would spend the money from the donation to improve the facilities before they took them over, because the county believes that they are subpar as far as the facilities are concerned, that they're not commensurate to being a good shelter. So they would like to improve the shelter, and that's where that money would go, according to the ordinance we passed on first reading.
So you're saying that out of the $1 million, you've only utilized 60,000 of it so
I'm not
far?
100% sure. I think it was a little more than that because there was broken glass, right, Tom? And there was a fence, and there's a lot of things that got repaired when we got here. There was a hole in the wall that a dog dug through the wall because he was in the cage for so long.
Okay, so I just want to confirm that you are in fact open to intakes right now?
Yes.
And surrenders?
Yes.
Okay. And the doors were never closed to intakes?
The doors for the shelter, excuse me, yes. When we got here in January, and I knocked on the door, I think it was January 7th, and they told me, sorry, we're only by appointment. They recognized me as the mayor and then invited me in. We were full. So we couldn't have intakes. So I ordered immediately that all incoming animals be moved to the county until we got the dogs under control and until we felt like the facility was up and running properly, open for regular business hours, right? Like if you want to adopt a dog, you got to make an appointment. That was ridiculous. So we've done a lot, and we'll continue to do a lot. Whether or not it's politically popular, we're going to do what's right for the animals.
Okay, so as of right now, the shelter is going to remain open?
The shelter has always been remaining open. That's what I'm saying to you. People need to recognize that just because someone writes something in a Facebook chat group does not make it true. For example, we had, I don't even know, hundreds of emails about allegedly illegal immigrants being bussed into Toms River because someone took a photograph of a bus at a hotel on Route 37, and I can't even tell you how many emails and phone calls, and just because some guy who had a bus was sleeping at a hotel, and somebody thought he'd get a ton of clicks. Man, were they right. We got so many clicks that we wound up sticking something about that in our newspaper so that people knew what the truth was. So, look, social media is powerful, very powerful, and it can be used for good purposes and bad, and sometimes people are just having fun with other people, but it has never, ever been the plan to close the shelter, and I'm kind of exhausted saying that. And I don't mean, it's not your, so
I thank you very much for your time, and I just truly hope that your words are true.
Yes,
the shelter's not
please
going to
post
close,
them.
and I hope that everyone chooses to adopt
Please post those.
rather than shop.
Please post those comments. I have adopted most of my, I bought one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Folks, I hate to cut you
All right,
off,
thank you
but
very much.
it's really getting late. Well, I mean, we've been here for quite a while. Yeah, that's quite a while. Yes, sir.
Just one quick correction in regards to whether or not an agenda should be provided. New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, otherwise known as the Sunshine Law. Okay, that's NJSA 10-4-6. Part of it says that part of your notice, your
Sir, not to cut you off, but this matter has been before the New Jersey Supreme Court. There was a appellate division matter that ruled that a public body did in fact violate the Open Public Meetings Act by not posting an agenda, and the Supreme Court ruled that's not the case. It only has to be posted in a circumstance of a special council meeting. We did post an agenda in our meeting notice that was published in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger on Monday, which was 72 hours of the meeting, and it was the agenda to the extent known at that time.
And every time there's an ordinance, the ordinance has to be in how long, Peter?
The ordinance has to be published in one paper circulating in the municipality 7 days prior to the meeting, and that happened in this particular instance.
So there's always notice.
The remainder of my sentence was that you're supposed to provide as complete of an agenda as possible. Now, if there's some confusion, perhaps there's an opportunity to explain that, but that might be where people have an expectation, plus there was regular practices that were performed before that. I will say, regarding the shelter, the plan was never to close the shelter. I had this debate with my wife. It was always to have Ocean County come in and the debate was would they do a better job or not. Now that is something that I've spoken about and we've spoken about. I've shared my numbers and that I disagree with based on the facts, but I did want to just confirm what you were saying there, because I think when we're debating issues, we should be debating facts and not allowing. That said, if one shelter is over capacity and has the ability to euthanize because of capacity, as was the case with Northern Ocean County, from what I understand.
But wouldn't that change if you had more shelters? So if you had 3 shelters, you
change
wouldn't
in
have that.
January, February, or March, which is why about half of the animals that were sent there were euthanized.
But we were full, which is why we had a very, very high
we haven't
euthanasia rate here. We were very full.
We're not. We're not.
It's on the state.
There'll be time to discuss that. So I don't want to create the whole back and forth, but I just wanted to go up and read that because that's where all the information.
Hi, Jody Cowes again with Kind Heart Rescue again, no skin in the game. I do have a couple observations though, because I work with shelters all over the state, like I said, and have done so for 30 or 40 years. I do know one of the main problems comes from when boards of shelters and such are the ones that make the big decisions rather than listening more to the frontline staff. There's another shelter in Ocean County that will remain nameless that is going through hell right now, and they have a big problem with holding dogs that have severe bite histories, and for whatever reason, because the board, the upper level, don't see these dogs. These are dogs with bite histories that should be put to sleep, so there's room for the adoptable dogs. That's one thing. The front line has to get together with these boards. Another thing I want to segue to this horde in Toms River that got me involved when there was 100, 200 rabbits in a shed in Toms River. The rabbit problem is becoming real. You're talking about feral cats. Feral rabbits are becoming a thing. I'm asked day after day after day to go to this county, to that county, to this town, to that town, to try to catch rabbits that are being dumped and becoming feral. That's also something that every county, every town needs to look at. And again, they need to listen to Frontline and everybody come together and make the informed decisions.
We did have something like that just recently happen where we had a dog that had a bite history and we put it out and I think it bit someone, and that's something that has to be watched very closely.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it's a liability, and it's a
bad.
liability for the town.
It is,
as opposed to a
absolutely.
liability for an enormous
Absolutely.
county.
And the problem is that many times when a dog has a bite history, it's really not the dog's fault, but nonetheless, the dog has a bite history and becomes a liability to place it. There's no reason, and I've done rescue for my whole life. My parents did it before me, before there was even a word rescue. That's the reality of it, that some animals have to be put to sleep. It's not always the answer to turn a feral cat back loose again. It's not always the right thing to have a dog with a bite history not be put to sleep. You know, there's got to be a meeting of minds.
You got to hope that people make good decisions.
Right. And not just in Toms River, everywhere.
I agree.
It's everywhere. Thank you.
Bill Brilliant, 79 Hollow Tree Lane. Just a correction, because I thought the numbers sounded a little too big. So the washer and dryer for the animal shelter, $19,000. I still think that's a lot of money for a washer and dryer, but it's $10,500 for a washing machine, heavy duty, everything like that, $8,500 for the dryer, and the township did spend $3,725 to install it on January 16, 2024. When it was purchased in October, it was delivered. It was not installed, but it was installed.
When was it delivered?
It was delivered on October 30th.
Of what year?
2023. 2023.
2023?
Yeah, yeah. And actually, they got paid in 6 days, which is amazing. So, but just want to put that on the record. Thank you.
My name is Crystal. I live at 536 Skylark Drive.
What's your last name, ma'am?
Hendricks.
Thank you.
I just want to address a lie that was said. So the mayor claimed that a dog ate through the wall. Am I allowed to come up and show you guys a picture? This is the wall that the dog ate through. He ate through the first layer of it. There is not a hole in the wall. It was usable for like a small dog or a non-aggressive dog.
Some dog was very stressed, though, to do that. Probably in there for a long
I'll get there.
time.
No one asked you to speak. The dog that was staying in this kennel came in as a stray. He was very stressed. He was a pit bull, an unneutered male pit bull. That same day, we got in a female husky that was in heat. So, as you may know, nature makes whatever. There was also storms that went on that night. So yeah, the dog was stressed, as are most dogs in this environment. And we cater to them and to that. We give them a lot of time to decompress, and we work really hard to make sure that they feel comfortable and get comfortable so we can determine accurately if they are adoptable or not. And that's just all I wanted to say, because it made me angry.
Okay, I'd like a motion to close the public portion of the meeting. Carlos, I think we've had enough for today, okay, my friend? Thank you, I appreciate that. Can I have a motion to okay, we have the motion by Councilman O'Toole. Do we have a second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, folks.